Jamie, thanks for hosting us again here at Virginia Country Club.
Oh, it's our pleasure to have you.
We just hopped off a coach chat and wanted to kind of follow up that with a few more questions. I know a lot of people had some additional questions for you. So, I also wanted to get into a little bit of the career side, right? So there's a lot of things out there in regards to your teaching. Wanted to kind of get a little bit more about your career as well. So, for those of you who don't know, you're kind of the trifecta of things going on in the golf industry, right? So, coach to several tour players, CEO here at Virginia Country Club, and then really involved with the PGA things going on, right? So you do a lot of stuff with our foundation, teaching and coaching summit. So if we could, I wanted to just kind of start with a little bit of the tour stuff. Would you mind kind of telling us a story? You shared it on the coaches chat, but where you were when you found out about all these schedule changes, and then I wanted to ask you kind of what your approach is moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, we were at the Players Championship. Because we're overseeing the club here as a CEO, we have a busy schedule. We're traveling on the road. Normally, we're not at the tournaments for more than a couple days. Normally, our schedule as far as coaching is I'm red-eyeing on a Monday night. I'm there all day Tuesday, portion of Wednesday, and I'm back here. And the club's been gracious with allowing us to do that for a long time, and I've been doing that for a long time, over 3 decades. And when it's a little bigger tournament like the Players Championship, we're there for longer. So, the COVID swell started to happen through February. And then, we're at the Players Championship in March, which I think is the second time we played in March. They moved the date up. We stay with a great friend of ours back there that used to be a member here at Virginia. It's almost a really nice week. Felt a little weird at the tournament the whole week. This is redundant that we said before, but there was a concert that the PGA Tour was having on Tuesday night. Chainsmokers concert. I like the band. We didn't go because it felt a little bit peculiar. The players played on Wednesday. The players played on Thursday. My guys, Luke Liss and Patrick Cantlay, they performed really nicely. Great prep weeks, good warm-ups, played really nice. Patrick really close to the lead, Luke not too far behind. The rumor through the day is that we weren't going to play. We weren't going to play with fans the next day. So we were prepared in order to do that. And then that night we went back to our host home, and we're having dinner, and that's kind of, we said that's the day the music died. Everything stopped that day. Baseball, hockey, basketball, and golf wasn't going to be played the next day. And then we took back home here, and when we came back home, our leadership of the club, with an abundance of caution, we were the first club in the country to close. And we did that because we didn't know who in the house was safe or sick, whether it be members, their family, or our staff, and we just wanted to get everybody out of here for a while. And then we opened back. We were going to open back up quickly after that, and then the non-essential tag was listed on a lot of people. And that seems like 6 months ago. It's only been 7 weeks, but it seems like 6 months ago. So I would say after the initial shock of that, our deal has been to make our business better, whether it was on the coaching side of it or certainly on the country club side of it. We've worked really hard on our asset, the course. We've kind of redid a bunch of things at the country club. We've Rosside, meaning we sprayed the whole property for anything with the virus in all our edifices. We've worked really hard on sanitation. We tried to improve our club. We had to do some labor cuts. Those people will come back into the Virginia family, and we've been working with a skeleton crew. That was dictated by the mayor's orders. And then we wanted to feel that when we got the opportunity to open back up, which is feeling close now, we're going to be better in every area. So that's kind of our mentality. That will be our mentality on a daily basis, but certainly during this time.
So really, sounds like you're really focused and kind of honed in on things going on with the club. Obviously, a lot of things that are pulling your time in that regard. What's your communication like with your players? I mean, is it something you're just kind of giving them a break? And what's your communication like with them?
Well, everybody around here locally was kind of limited because California was no golf, and some of the players, Patrick's in Florida and Luke's in Georgia, and TJ Vogel, we help, he's running a place over in Arizona, so they've been able to keep playing. And Patrick and Luke took a break for a while, and they've worked really, really diligently on fitness, as they all are. I don't think the average person has an idea of how fit that professional golfers have become and what a big deal that is. That's a big portion of the day on a daily basis. They're doing physio work in the morning, going to the gym, doing a warm-up, playing, repeating that before they go to sleep every single day, even on off weeks. So the fitness portion of that was looked into, and then we're just starting to get ready. It looks like we're going to start in the middle of June again. So obviously I've had some FaceTime sessions and some swings that were videoed to me, and then we have 3 or 4 really good young players around here, and they did what everybody would have thought they would have did. They built their garage up so they could practice, and we got swings there and tried to urge that, and they've worked on the fitness element of it as well. And we tried to, really say that the best players are going to be the ones that are the best prepared when they come back in order to play, and that's what we've tried to do. And as always with all our players, they're all different. They all have different ways to be communicated with. We try to check in as often as possible, and they've been great with sending us stuff and checking in with us as well too. So that's that.
Yeah, you talk about preparedness, and I've always kind of wondered this in regards to preparedness for maybe a particular tournament or a major. Maybe Augusta aside, do you feel like you try to prepare a player for a course, or do you try to prepare a player to be maybe adaptable in any situation? What's your preparation for maybe for TPC Harding Park this year?
Easy, simple answer, and probably not that detailed on TPC Harding Park. At the highest level, they got to be comprehensive and complete enough to play anywhere at any time. So, and then in the earlier stages, you're trying to prepare them to be just what I just said, all the time, 24/7. Meaning you can't go, oh my goodness, you got to go play in the desert, or you got to go play in Scotland, because that's going to happen. And a lot of times with a younger player, I can remember a younger player going, well, I have to play this tournament in order to get to that tournament. I'm going to have to take a red eye and figure it out, because you're going to have to do that when you do it for a living. So I think that's one of the things of building tour players for all these years, 4 generations of them now, is getting them prepared to play in any situations and be completely complete. And if they're not complete, if there's an area of their game or an area of their life that will get exposed after a certain amount of time, and that's your job as the coach to prepare them so they're not exposed in any area. Good question.
Yeah, thanks. So thanks for that information. Patrick Cantlay is obviously kind of a name that's on the radar. He just this current month, which is May, got the cover of Golf Digest, which I'm sure you're certainly proud about. You're featured, in there as well. Maybe talk to me a little bit about your relationship, or at least how you came to coach Jamie. Patrick, and
I had to coach Jamie. I had to coach Jamie first, so I could coach Patrick.
So
coaching Jamie's been more difficult than coaching Patrick. I can tell you that.
So maybe talk to me a little bit about how you came to know Patrick. You shared a story with me that I think might be beneficial for our viewers.
Yeah, first of all, about Golf Digest, we're really proud of that. We shot it here at the club. Ron Capriski, Mike Sturchura did the article. They did a great job on the article. They have good relationships with Patrick. We actually shot something a decade ago when he was the world #1 amateur. And it was fun to do it at the property, have our whole staff involved. You guys have been here enough to know what it's like at Virginia. And we had a good day with them. And the article was interesting. Mike interviewed Patrick, and Mike interviewed us about the swing stuff that we wanted to show. And Mike said you could have used either one of our answers, so that means we're on the same page, which is a good thing. Patrick's really special. He, as everybody knows, he was the world #1 amateur, and then he got injured, and he had the setback with his caddy passing away. And he basically sat on the bench for 3 or 4 years while he tried to heal and get ready. And at that time, I believe he was 16, 17, 1800 in the world. I was number 6 in the world, just fresh off great play in the President's Cup. And he's a really special guy. He's an amazing human being, good young man, very bright, very thoughtful. Comes across as a little bit aloof, but is anything but that. Fantastic sense of humor. Cerebral, likes to read, likes to watch movies. His normal question when he first meets you is, what's the last book that you've read? Very well read, very studied. So we've had a good time. I would say of anybody that I've ever coached, he's felt more on the maturity level from a younger age than anybody that we coach. Probably he's in our 3rd generation of players. He spent a lot of time around a lot of 40, 50, 60-year-olds. We kid him, he's got, a couple 80 and 90-year-old best friends that, he's played cards with around here that are guys that have been great influences in his life, and he talks to them like adults. He does a great job of that. He's made a lot of friends on the road where it's the same thing in the same manner. Super, super proud of him. My history with the Cantlay family, or the Nayland family, his grandfather is Pat Nayland. He's been a member at Virginia since I was an assistant here in the early 80s. And we used to play golf at the end of my shifts. I would play a couple holes with him. There was an old gate out there in the 8th hole. We used to kick the gate open because they would close and lock it so we could finish playing at dark. And then I met his father. His father's a very good player. His father grew up in, playing golf around the Wilshire Country Club, was the club champion here at Virginia. His dad's done an amazing job of just handing Patrick to me and saying, he's yours. And, I'm Patrick's only coach. As you know, Patrick's had a lot of influence from Jack Nicklaus, who Jack Grout was his only coach. And, we've been fond of that, and I've been fond of that. I think that's the best way to go. It has to work out the right way, and you got to keep getting better, and we have. And a lot more to come along in the future. He loves to play. He loves the stage. He's very complete. Last year, it says this in the Golf Digest article, he was in the top 20 in 50 statistical categories, which is pretty amazing. I think he's really complete. And we worked really hard on every area, and he's worked really hard in every area. And more so than now, I think I used to kind of be the complete advisor there. Now I'm in my lane. I'm his golf coach and his friend. And we've had a good go, and I'm proud of him and look for more good stuff in the future.
There's also another student of yours that I'm really interested in, Paul Goidos. You shared a little bit of information on the call there. For those of you, I'm sure most of our viewers probably know who Paul is and what his physical stature is, and kind of has a unique golf swing as well. I want to know a few things about Paul. First thing is, and maybe from a technical standpoint, if you would you mind sharing maybe something that you give Paul as far as guidance from that standpoint?
He is the most interesting person that I've coached. I've known him for a long, long time. I believe he's 3 or 4 years younger than me. So we played a bunch of golf at Rec Park over here. It's still, I think, if you ask either one of us, our top 10 golf courses in the world, it would be Rec Park would be one of them. It wouldn't be the number one in the 10, but there's just a special thing about the spot. Public golf course, we play on these monthly tickets. Paul's dad was a starter there. I worked there as a young kid. I think we'll talk about this in the future, but I've worked at every golf course in Long Beach, really. Pretty cool. So we played a bunch of golf. We used to do these 100-hole marathons for junior golf, and then I think for the American Cancer Society, I think there was a time that we played one time 100 holes, and Paul hit it like this on the 100th hole, the 10th hole at Rec Park. To beat me by a shot, he was 16 under, and I think I was 15 under. Counting every shot, carrying your bag, walking. We'd start at 5:30 in the morning and finish at 7 o'clock at night.
That's pretty amazing for 100 holes.
Get quite a following. No carts. We did that for a long time. And I've known him for a long, long time. And he's been so respectful and so kind and so understood about who not only we were as Jamie Mulligan, the CEO of the country club that he plays out of, but also to as instructor. He's said some amazingly gracious comments about us to everybody in the game. And as far as coaching him, a lot of people picture the golf lesson as you go to the driving range, you got your aim stick out, you got your video camera ready, you're ready to draw things on a board, you're ready to sit down on a plan. Our relationship's been anything but that. I've noticed little subtleties with the way that he acts on and off the golf course, with body language, what he looks like when he plays best, what he looks like when he chips best, what he looks like when he putts best. And I've just thrown out keys. Now when we have a golf lesson, it's not a golf lesson. We sit in my golf cart in front of the golf shop. He kind of tells me up the last couple of weeks on the road, and I'll make a suggestion. And 3 months later, I'll say, hey, that tip that you gave me, and I never even know which one he's talking about, was really helpful. And I say, good, I'm glad that worked. Last thing about him, he's not dissimilar from Patrick. Is very well read, very, very knowledgeable. All of us has known who he is. An amazing father to 2 lovely girls. Now as a grandbaby, that's kind of the light of his life. He is the guy, I've said this before, but He's the guy in the real estate office that sells houses every month, no matter what. Maybe not have the fanciest car or the best suit, but he just sells houses. He was able to get it done as a junior golfer, got it done in college, went on and was a substitute teacher, got it done on the mini tour, and he's basically played as an exempt player through the PGA Tour and on the Champions Tour for 30 years. And then last thing, and I've said this about him before, a lot of people are black or white, not the color of what we are, but just they're one way or the other. Paul's maroon. He's always got like a different take. So he's fun to ask a question to, and we have a good sense of humor. We laughed at a lot of things. We have a similar background from where we grew up, so we laugh and giggle about the past a lot. And I'm really proud of our friendship, and I'm really proud of his career. He's done really, really nice things.
Yeah, it's an interesting take. I mean, Paul's, I'm not sure exactly how tall he is, and again, sort of a homely.
He's 5'9". When he shot 59, and we called him that day, it was the day that LeBron decided he was going to go from Cleveland to Miami. So Paul was the big story on ESPN for about 57 seconds, and then LeBron went to Miami, so it wasn't the big thing. And Paul, in like his self-deprecating way, when I talked to him about it, he goes, I don't know why people make such a big deal around. I just shot my height. So he's 59. He's 5'9". Yes.
Cool story. So, I mean, I think, maybe an interesting, if you wouldn't mind sharing, I mean, Paul going at the highest level, having to compete against guys who are, 6'5", 6'4". And Mo Martin, another great example of a
they're cut out of the same cloth.
So, give me an idea of how, they have to have a certain mindset going into competing at the highest level.
Yeah.
Give me an idea of, do you feel like that's something that's sort of innate or natural in them, or how do you coach or bring that out in them?
Let's be really clear with this. Golf is math, really, when you think about the overall goal of the sport. It's trying to come up with the lowest sum, period. The least amount of shots, the better you are. And how quickly you get the ball in the hole is the most impressive thing. Like these pictures of Patrick around here, the guys that have won tournaments around here, they shot the lowest score at the tournament, period. And Mo and Paul are cut out of the same cloth. I've known them both since they were very young. They've also got the ball in the hole really, really quickly. And a lot of things they do are really pretty. Birdie always is more pretty than par or bogey or double bogey, obviously. And they're good at that, and they've realized that a long, long time. It reminds me of board games, when you play board games with somebody and you're like, well, they're not playing the same strategy as I, that they always win Monopoly, or they always win in Scrabble, or they always win in something that we're trying to do. They're just good at economizing. And I think because I love the game, and I love the swing, and I love the stroke, and I love the beauty and the aesthetics of the game, maybe when I was really young, I got caught up in that. Maybe that's the surfer in me, or the artist in me, or the romantic in me, but the game is really about putting the lowest score on paper, and they've done a great job of that, and I've grown to appreciate that more and more and more and more. And at the end of the day, that's all everybody worries about is, what kind of score they're going to put down.
Thanks for that information. Another great tidbit there, right? So, like Eddie Mearns was saying, it's not about, he talks about just putting the ball in the hole. That's it. That's all.
What a special guy he is, huh?
Absolutely.
I understand he was on the junior form yesterday. I'm sorry that I missed that, but he's been an amazing mentor to me as well, too. Hopefully he hears this. He might be more computer challenged than I am. He's probably laughing at that. I like, when we're at a tournament together, I'll see him at a major and I'll call him on his cell phone, and I can see him looking at the thing that he can't answer. It's great. But anyways, he's been great with me. He's one of those guys when I was really young, Mr. Mearns, that tapped me on the shoulder and told me we were good at what we're going to be and what we're going to do and keep pursuing it. He was a really big believer in the golf pro becoming the CEO of a country club. He spoke at the club, spoke to our leadership, talked about that. And we throw around the word icon too much, but he's an icon in our industry. So he's a special man. Yeah,
you mentioned CEO of your club. Would you mind just taking us, and again, for our viewers, not sure if they know you're professional, how you came up, where did you start? I'm curious to know, where did you start? How did you end up here at CEO?
Yeah, I'll give you the 2-minute ticker. I basically have worked at every club in Long Beach, I think, except for Bixby Village. When I was a young kid, I was the dishwasher at El Dorado Golf Course with a friend of mine whose parents owned the place that's still a member here. And I worked at Hartwell sweeping out the golf shop, and they gave me range balls. There's some kid named Tiger Woods that was practicing there at that time too. So pretty surreal to get to watch him grow up in that spot. I probably made more money as a young guy on that putting green at Hartwell than I made for a little while as a professional. That was a good spot. And when I went to the golf course every day, and I've said this before, I always wrote a list of what I liked about the day and what I didn't like, and the things that I didn't like were a lot larger than the things that I liked. And now basically the policy and procedures manual here at Virginia is all the things that we've liked over the years, and that not only includes where I've worked, but where we've been. So I went to Long Beach State, and then got to go around the world on that semester C program right out of college. Came and worked here for a couple years. Started as the head professional at Skylinks Golf Course, only the second head professional there ever. I replaced a guy there that was in the industry for a bunch named Frank Newell, whose son's actually a member here. A lot of this ties together. And then got the head pro job at Rec Park as well, and kind of oversaw both those properties for a decade with a big emphasis at Skylinks. Ran junior camps there, the Jamie Mulligan Golf Camp and the Smooth Swing Golf School, which was really successful. And then in the middle 90s, opened American Golf and Unical's first really high-end daily fee property in Southern California with Payne Stewart. Had known Payne before. That was a great time. Got to start your own facility when every professional would want to do. Came back here in 2000, and the club decided to make a golf pro the CEO. I think one of the first ones in the Western United States, and have gone on for 20 years now, and got to watch a lot of changes here at the club. Our idea is to stay vintage and have the look of an old Bell Tillinghast golf course. We are the last Tillinghast golf course that he looked at, and it was designed by Billy Bell, and so there's a lot of cool little characteristics. We try to restore it back to that, and I've watched the club change a lot since I was an assistant here almost 40 years ago. I hate to say, makes me seem old. I don't feel old, but it makes me seem that way. The club we're very proud of what we're all about, the service level, the family atmosphere that's here at Virginia. And I think the club was brave and courageous to make a golf pro the CEO of the club. And when you really think about that, you're asking a club to say, first of all, they're a golf club, which we are. And then secondly, they're trusting the golf pro to be the businessman that leads the club. And I think that we've done a nice job of combining that. We have an amazing staff here, and a lot of them have worked with us for a long time. Many of them. And some of them been with us even before that we were here at Coyote Hills. And there's a couple people here that I worked with when I worked in the 80s. So it's been a good run. This is home for us. We love the club, and we're trying to do things as well as we can in our own style.
Yeah, great information there. I love the fact that you're kind of writing and documenting what you like. And it seems to me like this is kind of maybe a trend in your professional career. Is you're really trying to get as much as you can on the professional side and the coaching side. You shared a story about coming up at Skylinks and sitting on the range and watching people swing a golf club and figuring out, hey, what would I do with this person, or what would I do with this person? And lucky enough, we were here a few days ago filming a video, and I got to see that in person, what that looks like, right? So you had someone sitting out or hitting balls out in the range, and you had one of your assistants here, and they were kind of looking over here, and after maybe 30 seconds or so, you stepped in and you said, the line this way, this, and I mean, literally that. You talk about having a trained eye. So maybe talk a little bit about the importance of having a trained eye, and what that process was for you when you felt comfortable and confident in giving some information.
Yeah, I'm going to answer this a little offbeat, but I think really helpful for our professionals. And like we said, everybody has our own way, and we're humble about what we do. We're confident in what we do, but humble about what we do. But one thing that I noticed that I'd like to see happen more as a trend in our industry, and I'll give you for example, during this pandemic, I have probably received 100 or 200 calls or applications or resumes or people trying to improve what they do for a living and going to the next level. And of that, I would say only maybe one or two of them shows the how or the why of what they're going to be. They might have these like beautiful presentations that show what they want, but they're not showing how or why that they want to do that. And I think us as professionals, that's really key. If you're running a property, you got to know the how and the why about things. So for that example that you mentioned about the young person, I've watched enough to know where you should stand, what you should do, the way you go about it. Those are just basics. Sometimes you don't say anything, sometimes you have to say something. But I think we're a much better profession if we think about how we go about something and why we're doing it as opposed to what we want to accomplish. And that phrase that we've always used is do the process the right way and the bottom line is going to take care of itself. But you got to know how to do the process, and you got to make sure the process is integral and it's the best thing that you can do at that time given the resources that you had, so you can provide the best value proposition for people to get better at what they do.
Great answer. So give me an idea, and it seems like there's probably a lot of parallels in managing a club and coaching, and that really it comes down to motivating people, right? So do you feel like you have a different strategy for maybe motivating some of your employees here or coaching, or give me an idea of, do you agree with that first?
No, I agree with that 100%. And, we all say this, like, just coaching is laws and principles, and preferences. And the laws are indisputable, even though it's kind of funny, the ball flight laws have changed now that TrackMan came out a little bit. But the principles will be how you're going to decide what you're going to teach, and the preferences are the way that you get it out. I think when you're managing, whether you're managing a country club and you're managing, somebody how to run your restaurant or somebody to do your financials, you got to have your preferences the way that you deal with the people. As far as like just finances, the GAAP rules always provide, you got to understand your business mind, and you got to figure out how to do the accounting, but how you're going to deal with your people that are going to do that, or your finance committee, that's really important. And I think about that all the time. When I'm going to deliver information, is it done sternly? Is it done softly? Is it done with a text? Sometimes there's not time for that. Sometimes I'll have to grab our whole crew and say, hey, by the way, I'm going to be a little more short and a little more curt today and a little bit more candid, but we don't have time to go through a bunch of that stuff today, and know that I still care about you guys. I still love you guys. We're all trying to do the right thing. If it sounds like it's a little bit direct, it just is what it is. And I think it's really weird in this day and age. We've got away from the football coach grabbing you by the face mask and giving you a play and sending you in. It's done maybe a little bit softer than that. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but a lot of times you've got to be direct with what you want, and preference is a really big thing that you got to look for as far as the way that you communicate with people.
Do you give guidance in regards to, you have a great staff of assistant pros here and pros here, great players. Do you give them guidance in regards to their teaching, or, what guidance would you give any of our associates out here, or, members for that?
Yeah, one little thing just to start with, I don't say hate very often, but I hate the word assistant professional. I think it's just a setup for what you're going to do. When you hire for somebody, they're a professional, and if they have to go through the steps of the PGA program to get their classes the right way, is somebody a better professional than me because they're a master professional or this or that? Those are all titles, and you have to work to get that stuff, but everybody's a professional. So we treat everybody as a professional, and we try to get everybody to look at it as they're a professional. And when our member walks through the locker rooms back here, when the member walks out there, they want to have a professional meal from a professional waiter. They want to get their clubs professionally put on their cart. They want the range set up professionally. If they have a rules question, they want a professional answer on that. And we try to demonstrate that the whole time. And a lot of what we're doing in our property is trying to explain to our coworkers, there's 3 levels that you can do it at. You can do it at fair. There is no such thing as poor. You can do it fair, you can do it good, or you can do it great. And if they're in the fair range, we try to coach to good. And if they're in the good range, we try to coach to great. And once they get great, you can kind of stay here forever or go do anything. We feel that. And if you're fair, you're not going to do that for very long. You're not going to be successful in this organization. And I think if we looked at all our businesses, it would be like that. And it doesn't have to be a country club, or it doesn't have to be the best country club. Obviously, in my heart, I feel like this is the best country club. But we were trying to do that when we were at a public golf course, and I think that's a really key for all the professionals. No matter where you are, what's the highest level you can do it at, and then more importantly, you're a sum of your parts. So if you have 100 coworkers, they all better be doing the same thing, or the member, or the guest, or the patron, gets a look at that and doesn't feel right.
Thank you for that. And then in regards to instruction, if you're watching one of your professionals give, a lesson, is there, are you ever offering some sort of a bit of guidance? Or are you letting them kind of experience and learn for themselves?
It's interesting too, we have, if I went through our professionals, I work with our director of golf for 25 years. I started coaching our head professional 32 years ago. Our golf pros, I've known one of them for 25 years and one of them for 26 years. And then we have a new professional that I've only known for 5 years, but he came highly recommended. We got a really good look at how they acted as junior golfers, how they acted as players, what we thought they were going to fit in the system. So not that there's anything wrong with that, but I really don't like the resume or the job interview. I think it's our job to figure out who you want to have work in your system, and you try to find that person and figure if they're going to fit in. So that's been a successful formula for us. That doesn't mean we wouldn't hire somebody that we first met, but they better have the ability to fit in. And then as far as teaching, I like that they have different styles. I like that they have different methodologies. I like that they have different ways that they go about it. I think that there's certain members that want to take a lesson from somebody that's really low-key and really chill and doesn't say much. There's other people that want to be really, really technical, and that's how they learn best. I like covering all those bases. One thing I can tell you, at the highest level, if you're going to be great, you got to be all that. You got to be chill with the people that want to be chill, and you got to be curt with the people that want to be curt, and you got to be technologically, advanced and know everything that's going on. So you got to bring it all to the table, and that's kind of separates that good to great that we've already talked about today.
Great stuff. So I have 2 more questions for you. Give me an idea, if you were starting from scratch here and we took Virginia out of this stuff, and let's say, year 2020, you're coming out as a new professional. Would you change any of your strategy, or how would you start your business? Would it be the same thing, or what would you think about in that regard?
Yeah, although we've made some mistakes along the way, I think we've navigated the path really well. I don't think I would have changed the mentality. I came from a really smart engineering dad and a really practical mother. They both loved the game. I wanted to play football in the NFL. I wasn't going to be big enough in order to do that. I grew up kind of in a beach town and, have a surfer mentality. I've kind of relayed that into my sport a little bit because I think there's some art and some groove in this sport that maybe we've touched on a little bit more. I've got to watch a lot of properties. When I was a young guy, golf maybe wasn't even a business yet. Now it's become a lifestyle. People have homes on golf courses. The country club is one of the most important parts and things that they actually do. So I've got to evolve that over the line and to the way to look at our business looks like now.
So Jamie, to kind of wrap things up, wanted to explore your involvement with the Southern California PGA. Obviously, you're very active in our section, so hosting the Teaching Playing Summit, as well as a lot of other activities. Why is that important to you?
Yeah, it sounds so corny. It goes back to the game's been really good to you, and you've got to give back, and we've always felt that. When I was a young guy, there was a lot of people that took me underneath their wing, and they gave me a lot of tools that I have in my tool chest that have made me great. And great might sound like too much if you're deeming yourself that, but the tools that they gave me were great in order to put yourself in action there. And the PGA, I also wanted to be a PGA professional. I knew it from the time that, I really knew about the sport, but even before I thought about that when I thought that I was going to do something else. And I'm proud of the PGA, and I'm proud of what we're all about. I have deep in my heart, I'm a California golf pro, like a Southern California golf pro. And getting to travel in our charmed life all the way through the country and getting to watch all these tournaments or throughout the world, California's always home. I'm also proud to tell everybody that we're from California. There's not very many people that are actually doing what I'm doing from a coaching standpoint or even a playing standpoint, because it's hard to travel from California and go on the road as much as possible. But there's also some bias there. And then a lot of people look at the PGA as, what's the PGA going to give them? And our goal is, what can we give back to the game? And our job is to promote the game and to promote golf and to make people a lot better. And then I think individually it's trying to figure out what you're going to do. I'm not a board of director guy. That doesn't mean I haven't been involved. When people were complaining when we owned the golf course, we started, or we got involved to do the Enhancing the Logo Committee and try to help with the golf course rather than complain about it. And that was a good activity, regardless of what turned out, in order to make the game better. And I'm really fond of our section and how hard they tried for everybody. They've done amazing things during this pandemic. If you watch those calls on Monday and Friday, you can see what's going on, and it warms my heart. I'm a huge Tom Addis fan. I always have been. He falls right into Mr. Mirren's category as an icon in the industry, and he's been great for our profession. And the presidents that have gone along, they've asked us to get involved, And so maybe it started out with Dave Carollo asking us to get involved, and that's probably 20 years ago. And then every time that we've been asked, we've always tried to help. I'm super teacher biased, not that I don't love playing. Remember, we got to do this because we became a really good player in Long Beach. I could have been one of the best players if it wasn't for Mike Miles or Paul Goidos. They were always better than me. And the funny thing is John Cook was better than them, and so we kept our ranking as me being the worst there. So I love the playing of the game, but a PGA professional and a professional golfer are two different things. A professional golfer is paying his mortgage by playing golf for a living in tournaments. A PGA professional, not that it doesn't need that when they get to play in the PGA Championship or they get to compete every week, because I think it's fantastic that you do, but to support your family, you got to do a lot of things in this industry. And I'm really biased to teaching. I think not only are you making people love the game and become better at the game, but I also think that you're promoting the game far past what you're doing for many years past. One of the highlights for me now is knowing somebody like Patrick Cantlay. When you think about it, I kind of helped his grandfather and then got to help his dad and now help him. And imagine that I'm young enough that if Patrick, happened to have a kid, I would get to help him a little bit as well too. And that's kind of what we're all about. And then I think anybody out there, if they learn to coach well enough, you can make 100 or 200 or whatever you want to charge per hour coaching golf. And there's not very many of those jobs. And there's a lot of security. And in California, you can do that almost every day of the year because the weather allows you to do that. The coaching summit's been such a big place in our heart. I got to do that originally from Paul Levy when he was the national president, talking to him about education. And he was huge on teaching education, and he listened to us and he said, well, why don't you do something? And so then we talked to Tom Addis and Todd Kiefer about putting together, and we did the first summit here at Virginia. And the next one was done by Sean Cox down there at Grand Omar, and they did a great job. And Randy Chang, who's been tremendous for our association as the committee chair, handled the last one. Unfortunately, because what's going on, we're not going to do this year, but now we have a summit that rivals the national summit. We've used our relationships on the road to bring in these great professionals. You've had multiple World Golf Hall of Famers. Last year, Fred Couples is the keynote speaker. The year before, Phil Mickelson. It doesn't get any bigger or better than that. And I think they're making the professional better. And then lastly, I'm really proud of the section office. I enjoy my relationship with you, with Bryce, and Matt and Nikki and everybody, Jeff, everybody that's worked in the office, and I know how hard that they work, and you're only as good as we support you, and we're only as good as you support us, and it should be a mutual relationship. So we're always going to get back to that, and if the PGA, if I've got 10 calls on my list, if it is an emergency, I'm going to make the PGA one of the first things that I'm going to call back.
Great. Well, thank you for that. I mean, I agree with you during these times. It's really apparent to me the value of our association, right? So going to lobbying a lot of these governmental organizations, I don't think there's any better time to be a PGA professional. I think a lot of our members and associates out there are really taking a lot of guidance, and people like you who are leading, right, putting out videos and how to kind of adapt and move through this pandemic.
And that means so much with the cities too. We're in this coalition with a bunch of clubs in LA in order to get LA County to open because we think we can do safe golf. Like I said, we closed because of abundance of caution, but this game you're playing, we're 135 acres. You have 80 people out here playing golf in the course of a day. You can do it safely. I think we proved that in our video. The game's geared to that more so than a bunch of people sitting on a beach. Not that I don't love beaches, but I think we certainly can do that. And I can tell you in all these correspondences that we've done with either the governor or the mayors or the city managers, there's a big credence to the fact that we have an involvement with the national PGA and the section PGA, and that we're trying to make golf a game that can be played safer. People need to exercise, and people need to get out of the house, and people need to have some camaraderie. And there's a challenge to golf that we're all in love with. Like we said before, we need to keep doing that, before the pandemic, during the pandemic, even if it's in your mind, and after it, better than ever.
Would you mind just talking to us a little bit about the Give? I know for those who aren't aware, the Give is it's a Pro-Am the Monday prior to the LA Open. It's something that used to be hosted here in the 40s and 50s. You've actually revived that, brought that back here. The SCPGA Foundation is the benefactor of that Pro-Am, one of the biggest contributors to our foundation. So would you mind just kind of sharing a little bit about that?
It's so much of a natural for us and for First of all, I love the LA Open. I carry the leaderboard when Haler beat Tom Watson in the 70s when I was a little kid. Yeah. And I've been to every LA Open. And I've had somebody that I've coached playing the LA Open every year since the middle 80s. I coached the only LA County resident, John Merrick, to win the Los Angeles Open. We've been involved with the tournament, with championship management, with the PGA Tour for many, many years. So the tournament's really special to us. And then overseeing Virginia Country Club, we have a lot of archived photos. We have these photos of Hogan and Snead and Demerit out here playing in the 40s when the tournament was the Monday Pro-Am before the LA Open. And those all thought, well, wow, that would be something that was great to do. So I always kind of coveted that spot. The PGA does an amazing job, multi-billion dollars worth of donations to charities as far as these Monday Pro-Ams, but I also thought, wouldn't it be great if we did one at VCC? So then we coached John Mallinger. Grew up in Escondido, went to Long Beach State, played on tour, had a lovely career, $10 million worth of earnings, and was one of the founders and owners of Travis Matthew, and did great in the Travis Matthew sale. He's now actually a member here at BCC, and he's been a longtime buddy of mine. What a pro Mally is, super pro. And he's a very philanthropic guy, and so we got together and talked about doing an event to raise dollars, and we wanted to come up with a name for it. And Mally and I are pretty simple in our language with each other. And I remember texting him one night and saying, "How about the Give?" And he said, "I love it." And that was that. And we kind of ran with it. So in the last 2 years, the Monday before, we've had 18 pros out here and 80 amateurs. We've grossed $750,000, which is a lot of dollars. Yeah. Last year, we partnered with Miller's Children's Hospital. And this year, we're proud to say we partnered with the SCPGA Foundation in conjunction with Tom and Nikki and Matt, the Give board, which is 5 or 6 members that are on the board here. And the tournament, we tried to take a look at all the Pro-Ams that are done throughout the country. And whatever the word best means, we tried to do the best Pro-Am before a tournament that's on a Monday. And it's been wildly successful. This year we're going to give away $10,000, $20,000 scholarships to SCPGA Foundation juniors with unbelievable resumes. Yeah. When I got to read those resumes, I couldn't believe it. It made me well up in the eyes. The same thing with Mally. And we're super proud of it. And we're going to do it next year. It's got a buzz in the industry. It's got a buzz on tour. That's really cool. Yeah, when I'm on tour, the tour players will come up and whisper in my ear while we're doing a warm-up and say, "Hey, that's the best Pro-Am that I've ever played in." And we originally got 20 captains that were from all different clubs throughout Southern California, so it just wasn't Virginia Country Club centric, although we hosted. And they've all come back 2 years in a row, and they bring their teams, and it's a fun day. It's got a little rock and roll, it's got a little groove. Travis Matthews, one of the factors in there, and sponsors, Farmers and Merchants, which is a year older than the 1909 Virginia Country Club. That's our other partner in there, and now Peer Insurance. And it's got a big future, and we're really, really excited about it. We're really happy to be able to contribute to the young kids and to the community and it's a good focal day for the club to show what Virginia Country Club is all about, not only in California but in the United States.
Yeah, it definitely embodies, if I'm thinking about the program, right? So you got music on some of the holes, and it's a very laid back, cool environment. Definitely embodies Southern California, and really you, right? So, Jamie, thanks for sitting with us. You're kind of a benchmark in regards to a golf pro. You're wearing a lot of different hats, right? So that's important in our industry, from CEO to coach, to again your philanthropic endeavors with us. So just thank you for being so gracious with your time. Thank you for sitting down and having a bit of an extended chat. And look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thanks for your gracious comments. Really appreciate it, and we're really pleased to do this. And we're all going to get through this thing. We're going to be better because of it. Thanks for being at Virginia for today. We'll end this with the air elbow. Yeah. All right, since it's that time. And Anthony, nice to spend time with you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.